Welcome back, everybody. These are the best horror films of 1996. Let's check out all the horror films that were scaring audiences worldwide. These are the best and all the horror films that came out in 1996. Let's check them out. All Night Long 3. A bellboy stalks a woman who frequents the hotel where he works. All Night Long 3. Horror. This is gripping and terrorizing. Amityville Dollhouse. A children's dollhouse, which is a miniature of the infamous haunted Long Island house, is given to a young girl where the demonic evil soon comes out to cause more terror. Amityville Dollhouse. This movie is creepy. Apocalypse Zero. Siblings Kagu and Hara fight monsters using exoskeletons forged from fallen warrior souls in post-apocalyptic Tokyo. Anime action, animation, and horror. Morkaleg. As four friends set up a game of murder in an abandoned house, a real-life murderer approaches to up the stakes of the game. Horror. Morkaleg. Bad Moon. After being bitten by a werewolf in the jungle, Ted looks for a cure. His lawyer sister with a son and dog invites him to park his camper by her house in the woods and live out of her fridge. Bad Moon. Bordello of Blood. The Crypt Keeper returns to tell the story of a funeral parlor that moonlights as a vampire bordello. Bordello of Blood. With Corey Feldman. Carnosaur 3 Primal Species. International terrorists get a surprise when their cargo turns out to contain living dinosaurs. Action, horror, and sci-fi. Carnosaur 3 Primal Species. Children of the Corn The Gathering. A nurse returns to her hometown in Nebraska, only to find that the town's children have fallen under a mysterious mass illness connected to its sinister past. Dark Breed. 6 astronauts are infected by an alien organism. Space sci-fi, action, horror, and sci-fi. Dark Breed. Darklands. A newspaper reporter is lured into a mire of pagan rituals and human sacrifice. Drama, horror, thriller, and mystery. Darklands. Darkman 3. Die, Darkman, die. When he double-crosses a drug kingpin, Darkman must free himself of his remote control clutches. Superhero action, crime, and horror. Darkman 3. Deadly Voyage. When stowaways are found on board a Russian cargo ship, some of the officers and crew decide to dispose of them at sea. Deadly Voyage. Drama and horror. Don't Look Up. A filmmaker and crew slowly go insane after being continually haunted by the ghost of a dead actress. Fantasy and horror. This is Japanese. Don't Look Up. Original title is Joyurei. Door 3. Another Japanese film. An ambitious insurance saleswoman is stalked by the strange and supernatural after meeting a mysterious man named Mitsuru. Horror, sci-fi, and thriller. Ebola Syndrome. A Chinese restaurant worker wanted for murder in Hong Kong contracts Ebola in South Africa, becomes immune to it, and unknowingly spreads the virus there, then comes back to Hong Kong and continues to infect people with it. Fatal Frames. Alex Ritt, a music video director, comes to Italy to direct a video for pop sensation. He soon encounters a mysterious killer who videotapes his victims. Horror and mystery. Fatal Frames. Fear. When Nicole met handsome, charming, affectionate David, he was everything. It seemed perfect, but soon she sees that David has a darker side. Psychological drama, psychological thriller, and horror, featuring Mark Wahlberg. Feelers. Two friends on a road trip pass through a town where aliens are landing and feeding upon some of the civilians. B horror, drama, horror, sci-fi. Feelers. Fever Lake. A group of teenagers drives to Fever Lake to spend the weekend in a cursed house near the lake despite warnings from the locals. Slasher, horror, supernatural horror. Fever Lake. I got the fever for the flavor of a Pringles. The Frighteners. I love Michael J. Fox. I love The Frighteners. After a tragic car accident that kills his wife, a man discovers he can communicate with the dead, and he uses that gift to con people. Dark comedy, supernatural horror. From Dusk Till Dawn. Dark comedy. Two criminals and their hostages unknowingly seek temporary refuge in a truck stop populated by vampires with chaotic results. From Dusk Till Dawn. Gamera 2, Attack of the Legion. A meteor lands in Japan and unleashes hundreds of insect-like Legion creatures bent on colonizing Earth. Kaiju, monster horror, supernatural horror, sci-fi. Gamera 2. The Ghost and the Darkness. A bridge engineer and experienced old hunter begin a hunt for two lions after they start attacking local construction workers. Adventure, drama, and thriller. The Ghost and the Darkness. Habit. Set in a gritty real-life New York City, alcoholic Sam meets up with a modern-day succubus who marks him and controls his will. Drama, horror, and romance. Habit. Head of the family. The head of the family is literally that, a giant head on a tiny body who physically controls the rest of his even more unusual family. Dark comedy, and horror. Hellraiser, Bloodline. In the 22nd century, a scientist attempts to right the wrong his ancestors created, the puzzle box that opens the gates of hell and unleashes Pinhead and his Cenobite legions, the Cenobites. Humanoids from the deep. While a town is in a state of alert, the monsters of the sea keep mutating the townspeople at an alarming rate. Action, drama, horror, and sci-fi. Humanoids from the deep. The Island of Dr. Moreau. This is a remake. After being rescued and brought to an island, a man discovers that its inhabitants are experimental animals being turned into strange-looking humans. All of it at the work of a visionary doctor. Judge and Jury. An electrocuted killer returns from the dead to take revenge on the authorities who caught him. Action, horror, and thriller. How come people always come back to get revenge? Carmina. In Transylvania, the 140-year-old vampire Carmina flees from the castle of her father on her wedding day arranged by her parents. There, she starts killing people and sucking the blood of their victims. Killer Barbies. A Spanish punk rock band has an accident while on tour. Forced to spend the night at the eerie castle of Countess von Florima, the musicians soon realize that the mysterious lady's kindness is a vampire. Killer Tongue. A bank robber seeks refuge in a desert gas station run by nuns, awaiting her boyfriend's release. An alien meteorite transforms her into a flesh-craving monster. Killer Tongue. Killer Condom. New York, a professor's affair with a student takes a bizarre turn when a possessed condom bites off his penis. The detective and gigolo join the investigation only to face the killer condom's rampage. Parody, satire, comedy, and horror. The Killers. Odessa and Kyle James were just your average American boys until the night they went upstairs and killed their parents in cold blood and smiled. Killers. Horror, mystery, and thriller. Lawnmower Man 2, Beyond Cyberspace. They thought they had destroyed him, but the simple gardener turned super killer has found a way to reboot himself in Lawnmower Man 2, Beyond Cyberspace. Little Witches. A group of girls at a Catholic boarding school get mixed up in the occult. Dark comedy, horror, and thriller. Featuring Jennifer Rubin, Cherie Rappaport. Little Witches. Mary Riley, a housemaid, falls in love with Dr. Henry Jekyll and his dark, mysterious counterpart, Mr. Edward Hyde, featuring Julia Roberts, John Malkovich, George Cole, and Michael Gambon. Night Hunter. The stakes have never been higher for action star Don the Dragon Wilson. Vampire hunter Jack Cutter Wilson must fulfill his destiny and destroy the last of the blood-sucking creatures. Action, drama, and horror. Nightshade. A disillusioned widower begins getting weird email messages and duly heads to a strip club. Unfortunately, once there, she is confronted by vampires. Nightshade. Pinocchio's Revenge. A suburban defense lawyer mistakenly gives her troubled daughter Zoe a wooden puppet belonging to a deceased serial killer. The toy fills the void of friendship in Zoe's life, but Zoe begins to act increasingly strange and violent. Sometimes they come back again. What a great movie. A man and his daughter return to the hometown only to be terrorized by demons who had sacrificed the man's sister in the past. This movie's good. Rattled. A horde of rattlesnakes inexplicably descends into Eden Valley, terrorizing an isolated family and forcing them to fight for their lives. Rattled. Next up we have is Rockabilly Vampire. A woman obsessed with Elvis Presley is having problems with her job, her landlord, and her landlord's scummy son. Rockabilly Vampire, parody, comedy, and horror. Santa Claus. A B horror movie actress is stalked by a deranged fan bent on claiming her for himself. B horror, slasher horror, and horror. Santa Claus with a W. Satan Claus. On the night before Christmas, a serial killer dressed in a Santa Claus suit stalks the streets of New York looking for blood. Slasher horror. There were Santa Claus with a W. Now there's Satan Claus. Evil Ambitions. Satanic Yuppies. A public relations firm is really a front for a devil-worshipping cult that kidnaps young models to sacrifice to the devil. Evil Ambitions. Scream, released in 1996. A year after the murder of her mother, a teenage girl is terrorized by a masked killer who targets her and her friends by using scary movies as part of the deadly game. Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, and Sneak Ulrich. Season's Greetings. This animated twist on Halloween memories involves the traumatic theft of a candy bag on Halloween night. The boy who put the trick into treat or treat confronts the boogeyman thief. Shadow Zone, The Undead Express. A teen obsessed with horror films befriends a vampire who leads him to a whole coven of vampires that hide beneath the New York subways. Shadow Zone. Psychopathics. Anthology horror film with 3 tales consisting of a killer sex doll, a killer handbag, and a parody of Joe D'Amato's Anthropophagus. The Stendhal Syndrome. A young policewoman slowly goes insane while tracking down an elusive serial rapist killer through Italy when she herself becomes a victim of the brutal man's obsession. The Stendhal Syndrome. La Syndrome de Stendhal. Sinister. 2 bank robbers hole up at an abandoned house and are stalked by an evil force. Horror. Take that, bank robbers. They thought they can get away by hiding? The house scares them. Thesis. While doing a thesis about violence, Angela finds a snuff video where a girl is tortured until death. Soon, she discovers that the girl was a former student in her faculty. Thesis. Teen horror, crime, horror, and mystery. The Lottery. Based on Shirley Jackson's short story, The Lottery, featuring Dan Cortese, Kerry Russell, Veronica Cartwright, and Stephen Root. The Lottery. The Craft. I love The Craft. A newcomer to a Catholic prep school, high school, falls in with a trio of outcast teenage girls who practice witchcraft, and they all soon conjure up various spells and curses against those who anger them. The craft. The dentist. An extremely successful dentist goes off the deep end after he catches his wife cheating on him. Dark comedy slasher horror. The dentist. The grave. 2 inmates escape from prison after learning of a treasure that is supposedly buried with a dead millionaire. Crime and thriller. The grave. Craig Sheffer, Gabrielle Anwar. The Peeping Tom. A serial rapist murderer with a leg fetish notices a pretty female officer at a shootout and stalks her and her family to be his next victims. Crime, horror, and thriller. They bite. Sea creatures come to shore and attack and mate with humans. Satire, comedy, horror, and sci-fi. They live. They suck. They bite. Thinner, I make you thinner. Let the curse fit the crime. An obese attorney is cursed by a gypsy to rapidly and uncontrollably lose weight. This was 1996, and AIDS was rampant with weight loss. AIDS. Tornado. An accountant sent to produce an evaluation of a tornado research project, and the scientists running the project pursue tornadoes and each other. Action, drama, and horror. Tremors 2 Aftershocks. Earl Bassett, now a washed-up ex-celebrity, is hired by a Mexican oil company to eradicate a graboid epidemic that's killing more people each day. Action, comedy, horror, and sci-fi. Tremors 2. Featuring Michael Gross. Trilogy of Terror 2. 3 horror stories including a woman's fate when she and her lover attempt to rob her husband's grave, a woman who brings her son back from the dead, and a Zuni fetish doll who comes to life again and goes on another murderous rampage. The Uninvited. Inspired by true events, after Patty Johnson gives birth to a stillborn child, she and her husband try to forget the tragedy. Drama, horror, mystery, thriller. Vampirella. Adam, a descendant of the Van Helsings, works for Purge, a paramilitary group dedicated to hunting vampires. Superhero, action, fantasy, and horror. Vampirella. Werewolf. Unscrupulous archaeologists try to take advantage of an outbreak of lycanthropy prompted by the discovery of a werewolf skeleton in the Arizona desert. Werewolf, horror, and horror. Rest in Beast. Witchcraft 8. Salem's Ghost. A happy young couple moves into a dream home, only to find it's a gateway for occult powers. Witchcraft 8. Salem's Ghost. Lastly, we have Within the Rock, a team of space miners sent to stop a moon's collision course with the Earth, discover a hibernating creature that soon revives and starts slaughtering them. Within the Rock. Those were the best horror films of 1996. Those were all the horror films that came out in 1996. What were some of your favorites that came out that year? Let me know in the comments below. We're almost winding down the horror films of the 90s. Stay tuned, everybody, for the best horror films of 1997. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you all in the next video.